Let's roll. Welcome to the show. From lasers to the CNC. What a journey, let's go. Santa's in the house. Tell me how you made it. Santa's in the house. Show me how you shaped it. Craft by craft, we'll see how you got here with me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Santa and the Maker. This is episode 5. Santa Chris here of Santa's Laser Engraving. I'm hoping everybody had a good weekend. I know we had Father's Day since last time we had a show, so everybody had a good Father's Day. Every maker has a story and a craft journey, and what we want to do in this show is we hope to discover those people and see what's behind those creations. And so that's what we want to do. And today, our guest declares he's an old plumber with fat sausage fingers, a questionable attitude, a delicate touch of a wrecking ball when operating a laser engraver. And he's like so many of us who's just recently started working in YouTube a little bit to see what he can do and see if he can share any of his things. So we'll bring him on here now. And our guest today is Jim from Max Laser and Resin, and he's also co-host of Two Guys in a Workbench. How are you, Jim?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Chris.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to come on with us. So, anything exciting going on today in your neck of the woods?
No, just getting ready for a 3-day weekend. Pretty quiet on the campus, so not too much on that end of it. Got a few projects I'm working on that I got to get shipped off this week, but other than that, nothing real major at this point in time.
Oh, good. I'm glad to see. So, and everybody that's on chat, we appreciate you guys coming in and seeing about Jim's journey through where he's at today and how he got there. So we'll start like we always do. Jim, where were you actually born at?
Right here in good old Emmett, Idaho.
Emmett, Idaho. So
Yeah.
have you ever really left there, or you pretty much grew up there the whole time?
Yeah, back in the 70s when work got really, really rough, my dad loaded us all up and we kind of went toward the east, just picking up jobs here and there. We ended up in Iowa for, I think probably a year, but I was a little codger. I was probably 4 or 5 maybe.
Right.
But we ended up working on a pig farm back there for about a year, and then started making our way back.
So what were your parents like when you were young? I mean, what did they do and that kind of thing?
Well, my dad drove truck for a little bit, but he worked down here at the mill. We had a big Boise Cascade mill. He worked in the mill, had a really bad accident, stepped on a floor saw and cut his foot in half. Then he went over to the plywood plant, and that's where he finished out his career, was over there. And then my mom just stayed home and took care of the house and raised me and my brother.
So just the two of you then. Are you the oldest, or?
Yes.
Are you? So
Yep, I'm the oldest.
so when you were a kid, were you one of the ones that would take things apart, or did this come later on?
I was never much about taking things apart. I was pretty busy doing other things. Yeah. I liked going out shooting and fishing, and didn't really take too many things apart, because if I did, usually it followed up with a whooping. So never put it back together.
Oh, whoopings. Oh, those are fun back in the day. So
Right.
Santa's had one or two of those as well. So, but I heard you one time before in one of your shows talking about that your dad was a pretty good size influence on you. So can you talk a little bit about that? And you also said something about how cool he was as well.
I don't remember that, but Yeah, my dad was an influence in a way of, gosh, how do I put this gently? That I
Okay.
didn't want to be, that I didn't want to be like.
Right. I got you.
Right.
Okay.
Um, he was raised by that father of the 20s, 30s, right? So it was no love, no affection, nothing like that. And it
Right.
was get her done, right?
Yeah.
So, I was expected to do a lot of stuff starting about 6 years old. So,
So,
split wood, stacking wood, chores.
Yeah.
I'm gathering that. Yeah, I did get my work ethic from him because it was, that's what we did. We worked.
yeah.
When I got old enough, if I wanted something, he told me there's plenty of guys out here, go to work. And so, I worked in the orchards. I worked the hay fields when I got old enough. Drove hay tractor. Then I started bucking hay, and so I've always had a good work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, and your mom, what influence did she have on you as far as you growing up through the years?
To be honest, and she's really the one that set me on my path for with my walk with Jesus. Right.
That's great.
She was a very, very solid Christian woman. She was an old farm girl. She didn't take any crap. When her and my dad got divorced, I was the typical kid. I was angry at everything. We had words one morning, and I never seen the left coming. But when I woke up, she was locked up with the right hand going, "Would you care to rephrase that?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." But yeah, I mean, that's one thing she taught me, was to how to walk in my faith and how to
Yeah.
keep my eyes on Jesus. Right.
Yeah. Well, good for her. I mean, that's the lesson that we all learn. My grandmother was the church treasurer from the day the church was founded. So the joke is that anytime the windows were going to be washed, we went and sat in our seats and watched them get them done. So we grew up a lot in the church as well. But so growing up in high school and all, what interested you back in those days in high school?
Girls.
I
honestly, no. A bunch of the guys I ran with, we were pretty heavy into drag racing, motorcycles, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, we loved riding. We loved just going to the mountains and just wandering through the forest aimlessly, But I've always been an outdoors guy.
Yeah.
I'm not one for setting indoors all the time.
Understand that. So yeah, since we've moved here, I'm not gonna be able to hunt as much as I used to. So I understand the desire to be out there, because when you get out there and get into quiet for a little bit, sometimes you can just lose yourself and totally not hear anything but what's going on around you. And that's sometimes it's most peaceful. And I think that's why a lot of us, probably people on here and others, get into our shops and stuff too, because we can just relax and that's how you think about it's that one thing, and you're not got all the things of everyday life going on necessarily. So, but so did you go on to college, or did you go in the military or anything like that at the time?
I went to trade school.
Trade school.
Yeah, and it wasn't until after my wife and I got married. I had a few jobs. I worked at the packing houses around here. I worked at a cabinet shop. I mean, I can literally, in my 62 years, 8 jobs. I'm a loyal employee. I don't leave.
Right.
So I just after Melissa and I got married, I was like, I need to go find a new job because it's nowhere around here. So come across a plumbing shop and went in, put my application in, and Melissa goes, "You gonna be a plumber?" Yeah, why not? You know, what the heck? It's a job. Got a phone call before I got home, and been doing that for 30 plus years.
So there was no desire to be a plumber. You were just trying to find a job at that time.
I just needed a job because I just got married, you know, so I've got somebody that's dependent on me to, you know, pay bills and put food on the table. So
Well, and it seems like it's worked out for you for that amount of time to be there, though. I'm sure, just like any construction job at all, you've got the headaches that you had over the years. But did you ultimately enjoy being the plumber? And
yeah. I mean, I started off on a commercial job, just being a grunt, just packing pipe and fittings, you know. Then, you know, started getting more into the piping and stuff. Got an opportunity to go from the commercial side into the residential side. Within 6 months of being in the residential side, I was running my own truck, my own crew, doing multi-million-dollar homes. Had several contractors that would call for scheduling and go, "We want Jim." Well, he's not going to be available. Well, we'll set the schedule accordingly, right? Then I got out of that. I wanted to get more back into the commercial end, and jumped back into that. Did some bigger buildings. I like to say my forte was doing dental offices. I've probably done 40. I got to the point where my contractors would just say, "Here, you draw out med gas where it's supposed to go." And and then I ended up being field superintendent. And one time I had 120 plumbers underneath me and responsible for well over $10 million worth of work at one time.
very well done. Very well done. So, well, since you were the plumber all those years, how did you start down this path that we're all in now? As far as what was your first craft? What made you decide? Well, I'm going to try this first.
Well, you know, I really didn't have any hobbies going into it. I ended up with congestive heart failure when I was 48, and I ended up getting open heart surgery. And I said, I can't go back into plumbing. It's killing me. The stress that I was under 90% of the time is basically how I ended up where I did. So I tried a few things. I was going to be a web designer. Yeah, you know, when you're not computer literate, that doesn't work so well.
Yeah, you want to read the description under what that means first before you decide to go.
Oh, you make these little pages with pictures. Perfect. I can do. No, can't do that.
Right.
I did end up making a few websites, but you know, nothing major. You know, of course, like the rest of us, you know, you get hooked up on the YouTubes, and I came across this old salty feller down there in Louisiana. And he was playing with this thing that made this blue light, and it did pictures on wood. And I started watching these videos from Rich, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I told my kids that year, I said, look, I don't want gifts. I want money. And they were like, uh-oh, what are you doing, Dad? And I said, I want to buy a laser. And they were like, okay. And so, you know, it's still hanging right there. My very first one,
Right.
a little O-Tour, right? A little 5.5 watt. Started goofing around with it, and
what were you just playing with it to begin with, just to see what you could do with it, or did you have something specific you wanted to do to start with?
Nope. I was lasering everything. I would walk into the kitchen to grab a wooden spoon, and my wife would go, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm gonna. No, you're not. You'll go to the dollar store. You get spoons there. You leave my stuff alone, right?" So no, it just, the more I got into it, the more it intrigued me of different things I could do.
Yeah.
And so I, like anybody when they first start out, what do? Ornaments and earrings. Well, I made ornaments. I had more orders for ornaments and earrings that I was like, what the heck? What's going on here? So the first 6 months I had this one, I made the money back on it, plus money to do the upgrade to the bigger O-Tour. And yeah, it's just grown from there. And
Yeah.
I'm like the rest of you guys. I don't do just one thing with the laser. I think that's boring when these things are such awesome tools.
Right.
You know, I try to learn how to do all of it. And I wish I was retired to where I could really dump some time into it. But yeah, I love doing the wood stuff. I love doing the cutting boards, you know, for weddings or whatever.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I like it. I like it when somebody comes and says, "Hey, I need this," and I do it, and I look at it, and I'm like, it's okay. But the customer shows up, and they're just, you know, they got tears, and they're like, "That is absolutely gorgeous."
Yeah. Yeah. Jack agrees with you. When you get a laser, nothing in the house is safe after that. So,
Dude, my wife has been gone for almost a year now. And even today, if I walk in that kitchen and I grab something like a chunk of stainless, I hear her voice go, "Put it back."
so, well, Jack may be taking it a little extreme right here. Here, kitty. So,
Yeah. Tattoo the cat.
yeah, exactly. So you got your lasers, you got into it, and then you decided. Did you then decide to start doing leather, or did you get into another craft at first and then get into the leather? Because that's kind of what a lot of us see you do on your show is leather and stuff like that. So where did that progress after that?
Yeah, I enjoy doing the leatherette stuff. I love doing the hat patches, and you know, because hats here in Idaho are a big thing. I mean, shoot, even my grandson at 4 years old is already wearing a ball cap. So, yeah, I love doing the leather stuff. You know, and I have the fiber. I love doing knives, and I really want to learn how to do the outline of the blade and be able to put artwork. You know, I can do it. It just takes me a lot longer than most people, but you know, instead of just putting names or verses on them or whatever, I want to be able to doll a whole blade up.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're right. I do love doing the leather. It's a challenge because it seems just like oh shoot, what am I trying to think of? Leather doesn't burn the same all the time. You know, your leatherettes, they're going to burn the same all the time. You're going to get a black mark. Sometimes with the leather, you're going to get a black mark. Sometimes you're going to get this darker brown color when it's done. So yeah, I love the challenge of doing things like that. The different types of woods.
So you got into some 3D printing too, did you not?
I did. In fact, I just printed me another tactical gnome.
Got an entire military coming in Jim's place.
I would if my buddies and my grandkids would stop taking them all. So,
so how? Like, well, two questions. How did you progress to 3D? It's probably like the rest of us. You saw it, you thought that looks fun too, and want to do that.
Jeremy,
that's
Jeremy's
HTL
fault.
Customs.
That's Jeremy's fault.
Well, I've already blamed Jack. That's why I now have the Snapmaker U1 because it's sitting in my office upstairs because he kept making all those light boxes and that kind of stuff. So.
I know. I'm like, I gotta stop listening to Jack.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, you've got a 100-watt laser now, right? And who helped you with that?
Yes, but I am very grateful for that because he he saved me quite a bit of money because I was
Yeah.
looking at buying a whole brand new machine, and he's like, "Why do you want to do that?" So
So, but yeah, he might be an influencer and he didn't want to be. So he's at least two of us, me and you anyway. So,
Yeah.
but so let's talk a little bit because you brought up the knives and you've got a connection basically with knives, which is through your son. So kind of tell us how he got into it and how you guys ended up coming together as far as doing it, what you're doing now.
gosh, what was he? He was probably 14, and he's a lot like me. He doesn't like to be in. Him and his buddy would play a video game for maybe an hour, and then it was like, oh Lord, what are they going to burn down? So they would come out here, and he the same thing, the YouTube. And he's an outdoors guy. I mean, he loves to hunt, he loves to fish, and he's like, I'm going to make my own knife. And I said, well, get after it. I've never told him no on any of that. And he's been doing that since he's 14. He's, oh gosh, what is he, 30 now? Probably I'm off on that one, but I think he's a little older. But he has honed his craft to where he makes some of the most beautiful functioning knives that I've seen. They're not fancy, but these things work. They're tough. They hold an edge very, very well. But he was like, Dad, I need to be able to put a maker mark on these things. I'm like, right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So with the little 20 watt, he brought me over some hardened steel stuff, some stuff that he'd already quenched. And I sat out here and I dug and I dug and I dug and I finally come up with it. And I said, I've got it. I've got your setting. So he would bring me over a pile of knives. We'll set out here in the shop. We'll yap. I'll burn these knives. He's like, Dad, can you teach me how to run the fiber just in case you're not here and I need to get one done? Like, absolutely. So I taught him how to run the fiber, showed him where his settings were at, showed him how to adjust things. And he's come over and burning his own maker mark on. So, but yeah, I've never told him it was a silly idea or anything. He's like a little pit bull. He gets his mind made up on something and he just goes. And he pays attention. I mean, even for his ADD, like I always tell him he's got, because we're both the same way.
Yeah.
You get going on something and go, oh, squirrel,
Yeah.
But no, he's doing really well. I think this year he has sent. He's got knives in New York, Pennsylvania. I think he has one in Maine. He's got a couple in Utah. He's got some in Georgia, Texas, and of course all over around here. So
right. Yeah. So it was just natural progression as far as him starting out with that and then moving over and finding out, hey, my dad will be able to do this. So that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that. And some of the knives that you've shown are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, they're and I'll build boxes like if he does, because TikTok doesn't like the word raffle, they call them waffles. So every once in a while they'll waffle something off, and I'll build a box for them.
Yeah.
So
I just saw here that wrong one. Still learning this thing here. Let's get over here to the comments. That we got Greg's an hour drive before he can get to his shop. So be careful, Greg.
Drive faster, Greg.
Yeah. Think you can make it in 55 minutes.
That's
Prove me
right.
wrong. So you got into the crafts and you've enjoyed those now, and you decide one day that maybe you want to do YouTube. How did that start about?
Oh, you're all going under the bus now.
Okay.
So it was you, it was Jack, it was Jeremy, it was Rich. You all said make a YouTube channel, and I'm like, what? What do I need one of those for? I come on here with you guys,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good idea. I don't know.
Well, let me ask it this way then. What would you like to do with your YouTube channel? Of course, you like talking to us, that you mentioned, and others as well. But what do you see yourself doing with it if you really get into it and get it rolling?
I don't know. I think I would like to do basics. I would like to do the basic videos.
Right.
Sorry, Jeremy. Jeremy had an issue with doing line after fill, and he couldn't quite get it to balance out with how it was supposed to function to make the letters pop more.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that down for a long time, and I would like to go back and when I start doing videos and do some of the basic stuff and just kind of show how I set things up, and doing the line after fill on wood, because if you do it right, man, it just makes those letters just pop, or the artwork just pop right off the wood.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure I want to help people be able to do the same thing, and even better. I mean, if they can do it better than me, great, good on you.
Yeah.
Greg, he has mentioned several times he struggles with tumblers. Between Rich and Leo, they've taught me a couple of tricks, and I've got my tumblers pretty well dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to be able to do stuff like that. And and then when I progress and get more efficient on the big boy back there, I would like to do some basic stuff, because I think a lot of people forget that there's still a ton of new folks coming on, and when they're watching somebody, I think that the guys that have been doing it for a long time have forgot that there is new people.
Yeah.
And so they're talking way up here, and all we're doing is we're losing these new people. And I want to be that guy that does just the basic stuff, because I'm no more a computer guy than the man on the moon, where you and Jack are, you guys are miles ahead of me on computer stuff. But I just want to be that guy that, helps people out. That's why Jeremy and I started our channels, because we just want to help people.
The one thing I tell people, I don't care, everybody knows it's on the chat, and you as well, that my background's, I'm a draftsman by trade. That's what I am. I'm a senior draftsman. I've been working in engineering years, but there is 50 different ways to do the same thing. And I can teach you the way I learned, and then turn around and you can teach somebody the way that you learned. Yep. Even though you've got it from me, you still have to learn how to do it on your own. It was the same way that I was when I was in the fire service. The one thing about being in the fire department is we get our training based off of first in class, but then you go out and you physically do it. Well, when you go out and physically do it, it's usually when you find all the different ways to do things.
Yeah.
And the other thing about lasers and most of these machines, they are not all built exactly the same.
Nope.
So while you see all these people talk about new setting, what's your setting on this? Well, that is just a starting point. I can't tell you what your setting is going to be.
Nope.
And so doing what you're talking about doing is great for the new people coming in. Because how many times do you see somebody get on, I got a new so-and-so laser. I don't know anything about it. And they ask for settings, and then you tell them what their settings was, and it doesn't look right, it doesn't look good. Well, you have to understand, your machine's going to be different. You have to play with it after that. So, yeah, but the basics are a great thing.
Yeah, it's the thing that really throws me is the groups. You get somebody on there, and how else are you supposed to ask the question? Hey,
Yeah.
do you guys have a setting? If I go and ask somebody for a setting, I go, hey, can you give me? I have basically the same machine you did. Could you just give me a basic setting to where I can go from there, to where
Yeah.
I'm not wasting a whole ton of material to get to this point, and then the thing that really irks me to no end is there's always that one guy that has to belittle that person for asking for a setting,
Right.
and that just
Yeah.
sets me off.
And I hate to say it this way, but I see that a lot in the 3D side. Somebody will ask a question, and it doesn't matter if it's asked one time or 10 times. It's always, well, figure it out, or well, they came for help. There was a reason they came for help. So
Yeah.
but and Jack's talking about the same thing we're talking about. He started building computers when he was 14, and it's basically get out and HTL. Doing the same thing. You got to get out and try it. You got to get out and do it.
Yeah.
And so it's it makes all the difference in the world. And I've said this before, sitting in the Santa chair and listening to kids 7 and 8 year old asking me for a 3D printer, knowing that the parents are looking at me like I don't know anything about it, and you often wonder, well, did they get that 3D printer and print Da Vinci out and then couldn't figure anything out after that? So the kid has totally disgruntled from that point on. So, but that's just, you've got to have that mentality as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you don't just pick it up and run with it. You watch a lot of videos, you research a lot, and there's some incredible people out there to be able to watch it.
There is a lot of community support that's out there now, and you have to be careful even in the laser side, because we all know that some are there just to sell lasers and others are there to truly help these new people out. So you have to kind of weigh that as well. So that's something that you have to do. But so you started into the YouTube a little bit, and I know you've had some frustrations. I know you and Jeremy had a little issue when you went from from StreamYard over to, I forgot what it was now, Restream. Yeah, you had that going on, so that's been some frustration. But what has been your most frustrating part when you started down this journey?
On the laser end of it,
just in general, was it in lasers? Was it in YouTube? Was it in?
Now the YouTube don't bother me. I just put that on Jeremy, right?
Right.
I say, here, you deal with it, because I don't care. No, I get frustrated with the lasers because I just don't have the mental aptitude for fixing electronic stuff. And sometimes laser head won't work or this or that, and I'm like, I'm gonna just smash it with a hammer, but usually, I'll get a hold of somebody, whether it be Rich or whether it be Jeremy or even Patrick or even one of you guys, and say, this is what it's doing, what do I need to look for? And Jeremy always makes me leave the room and go, take a walk for a minute. Calm down, because I am a hothead. I always have been. But I get frustrated because it should be something simple. I sat here and I watch you guys, take stuff apart, and I'm like, well, how come I can't figure that out? But I am. I'm getting to that point now to where I'm stopping. I'm looking at things, going, okay. Yeah, and I'll get my phone out. I ain't ashamed to admit it. I'll get my phone out. I take pictures.
YouTube University is a great thing. I'll be honest. Now the only thing about it is you have to be able to decipher if that information I just got from that video versus this information over here, do they jive with each other, and which one do I think is correct? Yeah. Because the one area that I have a mental block, I guess you could say, I can do enough car mechanic stuff to get most of it done. But if I was to have to tear an entire engine down and rebuild it, I would have charts and track graphs and everything out there in order to do it. I don't have that ability to do that, but I can take this laser and look through the parts on it and know pretty much, all right, there's the stepper motors, there's this, there's that, and understand how that all works together. So, you know, it's not just you, it's all of us. We all have that one mental block. And so YouTube can be a great thing.
Yep. No, I for the most part, I love my lasers. You know, especially now. We'll go back a little bit when I first started getting into this, and Melissa's like, "You gonna make this one stick?" And I said, "I think so." You know, and she goes, "Good, because you're gonna retire here pretty soon, and your butt's not gonna be in here bothering me all day."
That's why I'm sitting in my shop now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And you know, and this really does, it really brings me some joy. I love building stuff for people.
Yeah.
I like getting challenged. You know, hey, can you do this? I don't know, find out. You know, and it comes out better than what I thought, but I'm my biggest critic. So
yeah. Well, Crafted here is, you know, if you quit luring, you shouldn't do it anymore. Yeah, that's true, because then you the joy's gone out of it. And then Jack disputes what you're saying. He says he's finding it hard to believe, Jim. He said you've built a fiber laser, so he says you can be taught and you can learn. So there's that. So.
Old dog.
So that you've talked about your most frustrating. So what's been your most rewarding part of what you've learned so far?
Oh boy, there's so many things. I guess you know, going back to the tumblers, I love how my tumblers are coming out now. I didn't really like it before because I ran too slow and, you know, kind of burned the paint back on. But I've learned over trial and error of how fast to go, where to have my power set and all that. I've even learned how to put black on the lighter colors instead of trying to etch down to the silver. Designing hat patches. You know, I've never thought of myself being a designer of anything, right? I mean, I can draw stick people, but you know, I love designing the hat patches. I've got those to where those things are pretty dialed in. I mean, one of my hats, I give it to a 4-year-old because I knew that would be a really good test for if I have my settings right.
Yeah, if it was going to stay on there.
Come off. It hasn't peeled a corner one. I love being able. I guess my biggest is I'll get that customer that wants to do something very special for somebody in their life, like for a wedding, and you know, they can't go to another maker around here and get it for what I'm going to give it to them for. I look at the situation, I read their heart, and I'm like, okay, you know, I've got a cutting board. I'll do this. This is how I do it. You tell me what you want on it, and I build it for them. And you know, they're extremely happy with the price, but they were able to give a really nice gift. And to be part of that, whether I make $50 or whether I make 10, you know, I made that person happy.
Yeah. What is your project that nearly defeated you or has defeated you so far? Is there something that you just can't seem to we were talking a little while ago, then I'm having the brass coins are the ones that I struggle with. What is it that you really struggled with, or do you not struggle with anything?
Oh no, I struggle all the time. You can ask Jeremy. The latest one was I did 104 wood medals, for a big race down in Zion, Utah, and trying to communicate with my customer clear down the bottom part of the state through email or through telephone calls. That was the most frustrating part. I mean, I love being able to do this, and I offer that to my customers now. Say, hey, we can jump on with a camera. I can show you my screen of what I'm doing, and we can go back and forth right there. And that was probably that's been the worst one. Just for the simple fact was I wasn't able to explain myself well enough through a text message or even on the phone. But needless to say, it came out. She loved them. The participants that won them, they loved them. They loved them more than they did the medal ones. So,
yeah. So, going back just a few minutes ago, you were talking about, that you didn't, compared to my background and that kind of stuff, drafting, drawing, and that kind of thing. How did you end up getting to where you were proficient enough to do that?
I'm bullheaded.
Okay. So,
I'm just bullheaded, right? There's been a few phone conversations with Rich. Say, Rich, I'm struggling with this, and da 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 da. And he'd be like, fine, let's get on video real quick. And once somebody that's like yourself or like Rich that are really efficient in through the computer stuff,
mm-hmm.
He has a way of explaining something to me because my brain goes 900 miles an hour, but it doesn't track with anything.
Yeah.
But he has a way of explaining things to where I'm like, oh, got it. And I'm not afraid to try stuff.
Yeah.
And like you said, YouTube University, I have several diplomas.
Yeah.
So,
well, if you do these in any length of time, you're going to have help from somebody for something.
Yes.
Because like we were talking a while ago as well, there's no one setting. If there was, everybody could do it. We could all make the exact same thing. It would all look exactly the same. And so that's to me, honestly, with my brain and engineering, it's the figuring it out. That's what I enjoy the very most is I've got a problem here in front of me and I'll figure these brass coins out at some point, but taking and going, okay, that didn't work. Okay. That's even worse, and just constantly going back and trying to figure out where are we at on this. So that's what I enjoy doing the most.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I do too.
What do you enjoy when you're not out in your shop and all that? I know your grandkids, you like doing that, and you talked about hunting and fishing before. Is anything else that you like to get out and do other than those?
Yeah, I used to have a motorcycle. I used to love to go and just hop on it and just cruise the valley. My valley, you can do the whole loop in probably about an hour, right? But it's up against the foothills, and it's the orchards down through the fields and stuff now. I like to go ride my four-wheeler, just go take it up to Cycle Park and drive back past the old mining town that we had for years ago. Well, it's up and running again, but I like to go out and just be out and just sit there and look at God's creation and have conversation with him. I'm a big believer. I have to be.
Yeah. Well, I understand fully. And like I said before, I commend you for that as well. So is there a craft that you'd like to try next? Is there something in particular that you look at and you say, I want to try that?
Yeah, I want to, the next one I want to get, the next laser I want to get is I want to get a CO2. But just because I want to be able to do the acrylics.
Mhm.
Oh man, I would love nothing better than to be able to etch the little night lights for my grandkids and just put some crazy design on there and then put one of them little Amazon color changers on there. But the more I keep watching Jack, and then of course now you've got one, a four color printer. Doing the light boxes, that intrigues me.
Yeah.
Sitting there watching how Jack layers everything out and stuff like that. I'm telling you, I get one of those and it's going to be off the wall. There's going to be colors where they shouldn't be, it's going to be fun. But yeah, Jack, you're right. I would like to do what you're doing too, because I love doing woodwork.
Yeah.
I would love to get a CNC and just be able to do the designs. Like Jack did that one the other day. He did the 250 coin and did a CNC route of it.
Yeah,
that right there is, I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, it looked good. So Jack's making us feel bad about our art versus what he's been doing here lately. So like we said at the beginning, he's an influencer, so he makes us buy all this stuff as well. So
I know. Get deep into my bank account.
So, well, if you had unlimited time and money, what would you build?
I think I would build a more efficient shop area. Because right now I'm pretty cramped. And of course there's more things that I want to add to it. But I would like to be able to set it up to where say I get a younger person that wants to learn about lasers, or they want to mess around with a 3D printer, or they want to mess around with a fiber laser. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah. So basically have something like a demo area for them to come in and try if they want to.
Yeah. Spaceballs helmet.
So, Jeremy's having fun today, apparently. So,
he told me he was going to be in here being all rowdy. So,
well, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I've left up Jim's information up on top, and it's been running across on the banner across the top. So, go like his channel, and if you're enjoying what we're doing on this side too, like my channel as well. We're both in basically the same boat, really. We're just trying to get out there and start talking with people and finding our way through YouTube as well. So any support would be helped. But what do you see yourself down the road? You talking about getting another laser and all. What do you think you're going to be once you retire? What are you going to do then?
My own boss.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's my goal. I don't want to go till I'm 65.
Right.
I want to go another year, maybe two, but before my body completely just breaks down from all the abuse from 30 plus years of being a plumber, I want to be my own boss. I want to make this into a very efficient small business, but I don't want it to be so big where it takes over, to where, say, if one of my grandkids calls up and says, "Hey, Papa, come and take us to ice cream," I'll be like, "Yep," shut her down and take off. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do, because I promised my wife I wouldn't sit still.
Well, if you stay still, what happens?
you die.
You die. That's right. And you see it all the time. And you know, I said it in one of the other lives I was in one day. Most of us who are in either the chat over here or myself or you, we're all a type A personality. We've always got to be on the go. We've always got to be doing something. And especially us, if we stop for a minute, then, you know, that's, you know, we might as well just fall on over because we couldn't be able to deal with it anyway. So, but anything that you'd like to tell everybody that nobody would know about Jim?
I'm not as gruff as what everybody thinks. I have a pretty gruff exterior. My son-in-law's told me years ago that I'm very unapproachable.
Right.
It's not true, right? My brain is always doing something, and you know, my daughter-in-law calls it the RBF, right? So we'll just leave it at that. But
right.
Most of the time, I don't even pay attention to what's going on around me. I'm already thinking, I'm going, okay, well, I got to do this. Oh, wait, what about this? Or, you know, just all the stuff. God has given me an ability to reach back into my past and be able to help people.
Right.
You know, and that's what I tell these guys in the chat. You know, if you're struggling with something, I don't care what it is. I've probably already done it. I've probably done it 4 times. But I want to help people out, you know, be it just either having conversation or praying, you know, or just being there to just listen to somebody. You know, I want to make sure, because this is,
it's perfectly fine. We all understand. And I'll bring it back up. Greg says you have a big heart, and Jeremy agrees. So we all understand. You want to take and give what your gift is to others so that they will be able to go and do what you've done. So we totally understand. Yeah. So
yeah, my wife was a prayer warrior, but she was always available.
Yeah.
And that's why I never wanted her to work. I'm always been the breadwinner. I've always been the one to work because I knew what my wife's calling was. And she has helped so many young ladies deal with issues, deal with, you know, the unwanted pregnancy, the, you know, health issues, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I made her that promise that I would do my dangest to continue on.
And you have, like I said, your ability to start where you were, get into the craft like we all did, jump in with both feet basically into the YouTube, and then, you know, you and Jeremy on your show, you are doing exactly that. So I commend you on that as well. So is there anything else you'd like to tell everybody, and we'll wrap it up?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why y'all follow me, right? I mean,
it's because you're grumpy. We're waiting for you to be nice. You're being grumpy.
Well, I am grumpy. You know, it does my heart good that that I'm able to come on here and people enjoy it.
Yep.
And we have a good time cutting up, cracking jokes, you know, just and I need that.
Yeah. Well, and like we said at the very beginning, you know, this community of people in lasers and the people that's on chat right now, they're some of the finest people that you could talk to, whether you just chat to them on the chat all the time or come on the live and talk to them. So we have a really good group of people here. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, we were goofing around the other night, and Jeremy reached over and just clicked the go live button. I didn't even see it. You know, next thing I know, you know, here comes Greg, and here comes Dwayne and Jack, and then you show up, and I'm like, all right, the group's together. Let's go be silly. So,
right, yeah, and Jeremy agrees that they're the bestest, and so like I said, it's. As far as I'm concerned, if my YouTube doesn't go anywhere ultimately other than these people that I've got on the chat over here and the other ones that come in and out, then I am perfectly fine with it for the rest of my days because I enjoy that. So, but like I said, up top you'll see Jim's information, Max Laser and Resin. I can't even say it. Oh, let me ask you this. Yeah, raisins. So the resin side of it, how did you get into the resin side?
Give me 2 minutes and I'll show you.
Okay. So this has been a good conversation with Jim. I appreciate him opening up like he has, and I also appreciate the fact of what we've been able to talk about today. I hope you guys in chat have enjoyed it up to this point. So if you have, like I said, you know, hit those like buttons on either one of our channels and help us out a little bit. So and I saw a lot of people were taking and doing other things today, working in their shops and that kind of stuff. So hopefully you're making a lot of good things. And has anybody got any shows coming up or anything? I was telling Jim before we came on that I have just got signed up. There's a place called event called Mum Fest here in New Bern, and it's a 2-day festival, and it's in October. And I was lucky enough to be able to get into that. And then I found out that, and I knew it was big because they shut down most of the town. And when they do that, every road's pretty much covered up. But I found out we're going to have anywhere from about 70 to 100,000 people for 2 days. So you're going to see me with some videos probably out here in the shop and while I'm working away trying to make enough inventory for that. So, but anyway, go ahead.
So one of my very first projects that I did with my O-Tour is after my dad passed away, I found his just discharge papers from the Navy. And I'd seen a clip say, okay, yeah, you can take it in, you can photocopy it, bring it into Lightburn, you can trace it. And the resin, because I was going to be a millionaire. I was going to make the best river tables ever.
We'll have a quick poll while you're telling us the story. How many in your chat thought you were going to be millionaires when you got into lasers as well? Please put that on the chat while we're at it. Go ahead.
I'm going to be a millionaire. Yeah. So anyway, after my dad passed, I had a chunk of live edge cedar, and I got in that mode, and my wife's like, uh-oh, what's he up to? And I said, you'll see. So I went in, I photocopied it, and I emailed it, and I brought it into Lightburn, and the very first try.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
That was one and only shot right there. And I was like, I've got to preserve that. So it has a coat of resin on it. And that's what I use my resin for, is I use it for covering my projects. I use it on my metal for pictures and stuff like that because it doesn't flash the metal. But yeah, that was my first major project that I did with my O-Tour.
So with the resins, I've used it a time or two. You get the bubbles and stuff like that. What kind of learning curve did you have for it? Because you probably use it a lot more than I do right now. I did it some on my woodworking, but I haven't used it in quite a few years.
Yeah. I destroyed quite a few things.
So, yeah.
Mixed it wrong, or you catch a video and you don't watch the whole thing. Say, oh, if it's cool, just go ahead and heat your resin up. Okay, so I heated my resin up just a little bit, so I thought, and I was making these little art thingies with jagged wood and painted them, and I poured it in. I stepped outside and came back in, and I was looking at it, and I see these cracks, and I reached down to grab it, and that resin was so hot that I couldn't touch it. So I was like, "Oh, don't heat it.
Yeah,
Just keep it at 65 degrees, and you'll be fine." Yeah, I mean, I lost a lot of projects because I use a 1-to-1 resin. And if you don't have the right temperature, your bubbles they'll stay. They don't come out. So like with wood, I'll always mix a small batch and then I brush it on. And then after I get it brushed on, just take a torch and just go across. And that way, if there's any of the little surface bubbles in there,
it'll
they'll
flatten them out.
disappear. Yep. You let that set, and then you pour your top coat on, and you won't have hardly any bubbles at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, you're showing that of his discharge papers and all. When my dad passed away, that's when I was into woodworking in general, and I built his urn, and it was really probably the reason that sparked my interest, even though I didn't do it for several years, to get back into these kind of machines. Because I had a guy that was in the woodworking club with us that had a CNC machine. And so he CNC'd his name and the dates and all that stuff on the top of it. And then I made it out of mahogany, and then I made an inset, and then turned around and I got a Marine Corps emblem, a metal emblem, and stuck it in the center of that. And so that was his urn that I made. But yeah, that was probably, now that I think about it, that's probably where my interest in the machines again started from. I mean, I'd had it back in college, but then to come back and do it again. So, well, Jim, I appreciate you very, very much coming on. I appreciate you, talking with us, telling us about your life, and also your religion on top of that. It was great to hear, and I wish you the best of luck as you keep on going through your YouTube journey. Like I said, there's a lot of guys here that support you, and so I appreciate you coming on. And with that, I guess we'll call it a day. But like I said, we've got the next one coming up in 2 more weeks. So if you get a chance, come out and watch that one as well. I don't remember who's on the next one yet. I'll have to look and see for sure. But I've been very lucky so far. But like Crafted said here, if you would smash that like button for either Jim or me or both of us, whichever, because we sure would appreciate it. And
or you can crack me, I don't care.
Yeah. So, but everybody have a wonderful evening, and thank you, Jim, for coming on.
Chris, I really appreciate it. I watched I watched the last 2, and I was talking with Jeremy one night, and I said, "What's Chris thinking?"
Yeah.
I said, "These 2 people that he's had on here are absolute mind-melting brainiacs." And I said, he wants to bring an old fat plumber on. I'm like, no, comic relief, I guess. But no, I appreciate it. It's a good thing. I enjoy this. I love what you're doing because it does help the rest of us. We get to see what another maker is like without them being on their channel and having to the persona they are in front of their camera. It's good to see them relaxed and just answering questions and talking about their selves. So
my whole thing was I didn't care if you were somebody who's got a channel and it's got 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. or if you were somebody that has just started out, we all have a journey we've been through, regardless of where we are now, as far as YouTube or anything else. And I've got some people that I'm talking to, or either that are coming on, that may not be on YouTube. They may only be on Facebook. I have one in particular I'm thinking of that used to be in my woodworking club for years. And he's a woodworker. He's mostly on Facebook, but he does some beautiful work. And he's done things like trains and, different things. He does a lot of cabinet work and things like that. So that's why I want to encompass everybody. And several of these people that are in the chat already have either been asked and been on or going to be on. So it's going to be everybody. And the ones that I've sent out to, and they've either said no or whatever, that's fine as well. I'll ask until we run out of people. So that is my whole thing, is just to get out here and let people of every type just sit down and say, okay, here's where I started and here's how I got here. Because like you said earlier, we all started somewhere, and it's fun to hear where everybody started from.
Yep. You have to get to somewhere, you got to start.
Exactly. So, and with that, we'll tell everybody good night, and we appreciate y'all coming and watching this evening. So y'all have a good evening. Peace.